So you know who's been touting the recent strong jobs report, tweeting that it's the best economy ever. And now, to be clear, you know, economic expansion started in 2009, so you might tip a dread to Obama, but you know who's taken credit for a whole bunch of this. And the question, I guess, is to people, will this matter to voters more than things like impeachment hearings?
Good question.
Well, certainly when you're thinking about just your day-to-day life, putting food on the table for your family. I read a stat today that no modern-day president has won re-election in a strong economy. Yeah.
Right.
The only ones have been
Jimmy Carter and
George H.W. Bush. We don't talk about the economy very much in the show, and I've always said that people are underestimating the power that that's going to have with the president. I have real concerns about it. I think the deficit is a huge problem. No one's talking about that. And I think there are going to be long-term implications to what's going on now that we're not going to even see for a while. But in the short term, the unemployment's lowest it's been in 50 years. The stock market is doing well. And so when people are looking at right now, he's been in 3 years. I think you can say, you know, the good and the bad.
So two things, like 44% of American workers are making $18,000 a year. That's able-bodied people between 25 and 54. I don't know how you can basically afford to live on that. Yeah. $18,000 a year. That's before taxes also.
I think it's under the poverty line.
That's one thing. And the other thing is, if we're doing so well, why is he cutting food stamps? Why that? Why not say, hey, look at how great we're doing. Let's help people who are in difficulty. Why cut people's food? I don't understand how they're operating.
Yeah. It's certainly a tough message to sell.
It's pathetic.
Yeah. Especially during the holiday season.
During the holiday season. I mean, I think you have to look behind the numbers. You know, you can't just tout, oh, you know, unemployment is down and everything is so great. It's not so great for everyone. It just isn't. And the deficit, as you mentioned, is just mushrooming. I mean,
who gets the bill for that? My grandson.
Yes,
and your grandchildren.
Your grandson. Yeah. Things are not going to look as rosy. I mean, when you really look at the numbers, Trump inherited a deficit of $585 billion. That deficit is now on the path to surpass. No, a deficit. Oh. But it's going to surpass.
What about the debt?
The debt. It's going to surpass $1.1 trillion. I mean, what do you do with something like that? He's got all these trade wars. He's trying to build this wall, $26 billion. I mean, he spends and spends and spends. He's just not really such a great business person.
I also struggle with, like, who gets credit and who's to blame, whatever, when the American people don't get enough credit for the hard work that they put into their jobs every single day.
No, they get taxed for everything. They've been taxed on everything. People are, you know, I've been saying this for a while. People are taxed within an inch of their life. You don't have that money that you had, that little bit of money that you used to run over in February and look and wait for that little check to come, and you could go, you know, send your kids to camp. You had a little extra. You know, that's... The economy may be doing fine, but the American people are not keeping up to the economy, which is what I'm hearing y'all say.
Then maybe that's why 50% of Americans want him removed.
Right.
Well, I think when you're talking about the politics of this, James Carville had the infamous line, "It's the economy, stupid," and I think that will live on forever. I don't care what games have been changed in regards to campaigning candidates. There were 260,000 jobs created in November, and although I think what everyone's saying at the table about the deficit is more than valid, I think when you're on the campaign trail, he's going to go in front of his supporters and say the economy is the highest ever. I was reading the Drudge Report all weekend, and there's a picture of Trump's face touting the job numbers and the economic numbers. And I do think it's an easy stump speech, and whether or not the American people buy it this time around is ultimately up to them. But it is a very... It's a very easy and simplistic winning message for him.
Absolutely.
And
I wonder if the farmers will buy it.
But I think Democrats have to come up with a counter argument, and maybe, again, like, it's the deficit, but they have to come up with something that's quick and simple, and I don't like that we live in a world of sound bites, but we do.
Yeah.
And they have to come up with something that's going to counterpunch that.